Welcome to the new Talk Performance YouTube channel. We decided that we wanted to move into something a little bit more behind the scenesy, a little bit more in depth of what kind of goes on a performance shop on a daily basis. So we're going to be covering some dynos of a DC2 race car that was built at another workshop. Cascay's car where we're at the moment with all the fab work and everything done. I'll get Pierce to put in somewhere here a clip of it hitting the wall when Kes smashed it at Bay Park. He did a really good job at making the car actually 36mm shorter on one side and destroying even the C-pillar, and a home-built drift car. So it'd be quite cool for you guys to see what happens as we go throughout a day, setting up the car ready for dyno, you know, the oil changes in between, setting up base timing, Daniel doing some tuning, that type of thing. As we go, we'll progress through with the channel and get more in depth in what you guys actually want to see, how we build these cars, how we dyno these cars, how we wire these cars, all that type of thing. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the content that we produce for you guys, and yeah, thank you for watching.
So this little S14 was dropped off to us, not running, and the whole point of it was just to get the link all set up, get everything configured, get it started, get it running for him. Unfortunately, when we went to do the base timing on it yesterday, we figured out that it had already been started and they'd had the shims run the wrong way, so broke a couple of rockers and everything, so it was a big rush yesterday to pull it all apart, get some new rockers in, and put it all back together. You finally got it started this morning, set all the base timing up. As you can see, it's not running the best, but this is what happens when we first start a car. They never ever just start like that. We've got a lot of little fine tuning stuff before we can even get to the fun part of making power and planes and things. Sometimes this stuff takes, you know, a couple of hours if it goes smoothly. Sometimes we might find other problems like water leaks and everything.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
So Jeremy and Dan right now are just trying to get the wideband working properly so we can get all the air ratios and everything correct, and also just check for any leaks and stuff like that to make sure nothing's leaking out the bottom before we start making some fire. So hopefully it all goes well. So what are we doing? We've got a Sylvia on the dyno, fresh built motor. So we're just going to start off. We've already done some heat cycles, which has just started the car, got it running, checked the leaks and everything like that. We're now on the dyno doing the run-in tune. So that's pretty much me just going through, doing all the partial tables, like pretty much how you drive the car on the road. It's just a good way of putting a lot of load into the car without putting boost into it. Low RPM up to, say, you know, maybe up to about 5,500. Do a couple of pulls just at the end. I did cutting it off at about 5.5, 6, just to make sure everything's all good, because it does have running oil in it. Once we've done all that, we'll get it off the dyno on a hoist, oil drained, new oil, pull the oil filter off, we'll cut it open, check that that's all okay, and then we'll get it back on the dyno for the final tune.
Just checking if it's bled up. First time the motor's run, so we're going to make sure that all the air gets out. And he's got no coolants in there. But when I was running it before, it was only getting to 70 degrees, so it's quite a big radiator, but potentially might be a quick sensor. It's not going to get any warmer than 70 degrees. All the maps, you'll always be down on a cold map at ECU, so your fuel sync will be off.
Yeah, it's way up there. Something holding it. Hey?
It's like already well adjusted out, eh?
Oh, okay. I can still just keep it with idle. The problem was that the ignition timing holds up really high, and as soon as it got hot, it dropped to 5 degrees.
It dropped.
Yeah.
What's that now?
15, 12, kind of in that, idle.
Just adjusting the idle up. They removed idle control, so there's no way to do it. So Dan's playing with the timing to lift the idle up, but I'm trying to set the base idle off just to pick the toggle up, but we're almost out of thread, so I can't go any higher.
At the moment, I'm trying to set the idle, but this has got giant cams in it, so I've got to set the idle a little bit higher than what a normal car would. Just trying to get the target idle, because there's no idle control in it. but I need to get the target idle map to match what the car's actually doing, so that way my ignition table, which is all I'm using, should kind of be a little bit more accurate.
So we'll run this viscous fan and a bigger radiator because you've got more volume. It will bring the temp down, whereas if you go electric fan, you just turn it off. But because it's always going, and that works up the temperature of the air around it, and the heat coming through the radiator, it'll make it lock up and keep going. So it keeps keeping the car too cold. I think that's the problem.
This sets my road speed, so I can control how fast the car's running, so 30k an hour, and then I can just basically use my throttle to control load. So, most boring part of tuning. Can you just tell me if it drops when I go off the throttle?
Yep. Down. About 3 bar now. Cool. Sitting at about 3 bar.
Get an oil change and get it back on and do some more tuning. Yeah, and the temp sensor, because it's got no thermostat in it, it's just reading what's coming out of the radiator back into the engine, because it's right on the...
What are we getting to? Like, what
you know, it's the one down at the bottom of the...
no, it's in the... It's in the backside of the thermostat.
Well, in the intake manifold, there's two of them.
Backside of the thermostat.
Yeah, because there's none in there, we're just reading what's coming out of the radiator.
So that's good. So the engine's not overheating, but it's still cold. It's getting into 70. Yeah. So it's not.
After a couple of pulls, the fan turned off. I got it to 84. Someone's doing a group call.
What you do?
Draining some oil after the run-in. So we're draining out the mineral oil from the run-in. Then we're going to fill it with some synthetic oil. And then do the full jam tune. Pretty good. We're about to pull the top hose off to check if it has a thermostat in here, because the car is not getting hot on the dyno. It's only getting to 70 degrees and it won't get any hotter. So we'll check the easy way first, and we'll put the inspection camera up instead of pulling the whole thermostat off. Galen had the camera and it was flat, so fingers crossed we don't have to cut and go to charge the camera. Brightness. It appears to have a thermostat in it, but it's open. It's not looking the healthiest, but there is our thermostat. So it has got one. So we can even have two problems now. Thermostat's stuck and it's not opening, or it's stuck open, but that looks shut. Or it's opening too early, it's too low a temperature, but it's clearly there. Okay, it has got a thermostat. Next step is at our sensor. So I've seen it before, an old sensor. What happens is they just get aged and the resistance changes, and so obviously these things work off resistance, or computers work off different things, different resistance, whatever calibration we have in there. I think this is a Bosch standard. It's saying 70 degrees, but really this is probably reading wrong. So we've got a new one on its way. We'll try that next, because that's the easiest thing next to do. And then from there, if it's still doing it, it might be potentially a faulty thermostat, but we'll go that path when we get there. But looking like more likely this. And now we're filling the oil. Just high, just a little high, which is perfect because we'll crank it and it should fill this. Crack him and drain what was left in here with the old oil, so we get the last of it, and then we can use this to fill these lines. Hopefully it's enough. We've got about a litre there. Should hopefully do it. But it looks pretty good. I mean, it's perfectly clean, but there's no bits of milkiness in there. You generally will see on a new run-in, you'd see like a little bit of metal in there, and it's usually from machining or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not going to come up perfectly clean.
So we've got the car tuned from a partial throttle point of view. We've had it on the hoist, we've drained the oil, it's got some new oil in it, we've put some new coolant in it as well, just done another heat cycle just to get all the coolant to bleed. Now it's back on the dyno and we're going to do the final tune. Yeah, so first run, it didn't make much power after about 5,000 RPM. So second run, I just upped the timing by a degree, see what would happen, and it didn't make any more power. Falls over, as you can probably see, hits about 5.5 and then just drops on its ass. We're wondering if there's anything in the lifters or in the head, but on the last run on diesel, just as I was starting to get back on throttle, it just did a big pop and the engine died. So we don't know, so we're just taking the rocker cover off, and these are notorious for throwing rocker arms, so we're just going to have a look. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. All the lifters are in place. Plugs looking good. Plugs looking mint. Oh, that might be part of our problem.
Yep.
Plug split.
That plug split open.
This is probably why it's not running nicely either.
Yeah.
It's probably, I reckon, maybe that cylinder's just sparking. That guy.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's actually dropped.
Is that what the misfire was?
Well, I think that was the cylinder, that's cylinder 1.
Well, does the rockers and everything look like, Elmo?
That look good?
See? So it lost the cylinder at the top of a run, you mean?
No, at the bottom of a run.
Oh, well yeah, there you go, cylinder turned off. It would have just been raw fuel in a hot cylinder. That's what the bang was.
Yeah.
It's got a lane K. Yeah.
It doesn't look wet, it looks dry in there. Still a cross edge on the bore. I don't know.
Haven't really noticed.
No, it's kind of been like, you know. Alright. We put the bore camera down all the cylinders and they all look good. Check the rocker assembly, that all looks good. But yeah, that plug was definitely cracked, so that's obviously not going to run.
You got the rest of them there.
Yeah, I got the last one. There's only one more, I think. The rest of them are just. But yeah, that's what we're putting it down to. So try.
I am getting the socket on the crank pulley so I can rotate the motor over and get it mechanically timed, and then check the timing of the CAS. Because looks like the cast may have been incorrectly timed originally in this car. Our motor was put together. But we can't blame it on anyone because this motor has now been apart 2 times since it's been here, so we'll see. Oh, this will be way easier when those butt plugs in.
It is fucking miles out and goes backwards. Back. Turn it off.
That's coming loose in this car, right?
So I want to hook the knockbox up,
Okay.
so I can at least listen.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, because normally I would I'll hit knock before I hit EBC on this. Like, looking at some of the other ones, I could probably go for another 2 degrees. So though, that here, like I said, is running about 10 degrees. I'm running like 12, 14 in the other car. So that is just with another 2 degrees of 5 at the top.
Yeah.
It's holding on a lot nicer too.
Yeah.
We're up around that 1.3, 1.4 bar, which is fine. Mixture's pretty good. 0.7. I could probably go a little bit leaner, but that's still nice and safe. But we're at 260 wheels, so you know, I could probably, by bumping another 2 degrees in there, we should probably be up around that 270, 280.
Yeah. Yeah. Just as long as it's like safe. That's all Michael's asking. Really.
Yeah, well, you can take it now and it'd be safe.
Yeah, I know. But 280 kilowatt is such a good figure.
Yeah, 260 to 280 is another 20 more. So
That number, man. That's the C's garage number, man.
So we're pretty much done. Made shy just 279.1, so just shy of 280. Got the fueling pretty much where I want it. This has got an O2 sensor on it with wideband, so I'm actually using the wideband on the car to monitor and just comparing it with what we've seen on the dyno. It's pretty much bang on. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm targeting 130 kPa of boost, which if I do my math, yeah, it's a 19 pound, pretty much just shy of that, which is pretty good. It's healthy, yeah. So off the dyno for Nathan to do some welding, put some intrusion bars in it, back to the customer.
Alright, so we have now finished the Sylvia. This has been just a normal, typical job. It was booked in, it was built by the customer himself and another engine shop, and we got the car on the dyno, got it started, unfortunately we ran into a rocker issue even before we even got to dyno tuning it. There was an issue with the rockers being put in, the rockers and the shims being put in the wrong place. The intake was put on the exhaust and vice versa. So unfortunately it broke a rocker, and we weren't able to obviously check that. We were told it had already been running and ready to go. We then got it onto the dyno, set up the base timing and started tuning it. And then unfortunately again we had another little issue where the spark plugs that were fitted to the engine were damaged. The porcelain had been holding on a little bit, but with a few runs and all the vibration to the engine, it had finally let go, and then it started misfiring. So at that point we decided to pull it down a second time and actually make sure that the CAS had actually been installed correctly, because we're kind of at that point now where we were a bit unsure about how it would have been put together. So we then reset the mechanical timing just to make sure, new spark plugs, put it back together, and we got a result for the customer. So this is just a normal kind of everyday thing with when we are delivered vehicles. And yeah, I'm just glad we could get it running for them. It made the sort of magic SR number. I think it was about 280 kilowatt, I think it was. Yeah, 286 wheel. And yeah, I think the customer is going to be absolutely stoked with it. Even though we had a few little issues, it's all sorted, it's all normal, and yeah, we'll just keep going. So now we've got to put some side intrusion bars in it. Well, Malmo will. And then he can go and light some bags up and have some fun in it.
That's my foot all the way down. You'll see what I mean as soon as you fucking drive this fast. You'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean. So as soon as you lift the foot off just a millimetre off the ground, the clutch is engaged. You just can't drive. This is what happens when you're a golfer. It doesn't pedal.
It's got some pretty bad scoring in it. So unfortunately, Mr. Keske, you're going to have to start saving your yen.